We are going to talk about a lot of different things regarding Jimmy Page's guitar playing. If you've never seen one of my habits videos, it's not necessarily check out this exact lick and learn it. And it's not exactly this is the amp you need, this is the pedal you need, this is the guitar you need, this is how you get a Jimmy Page tone. It's not necessarily tone chasing or lick learning. It's habit hashing out. Hashing out what about these guitar players. I've done Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, David Gilmour, a whole host of other amazing guitar legends. What about these guys makes their style so unique and special? What's going through their minds? What is the approach? The first habit of Jimmy Page's, his absolutely unapologetic smearing of the fretboard. And what I mean by that is he wasn't afraid to miss notes. He was always on the beat and always on time and always intonated perfectly, but he also played on the edge, the very top of his potential, meaning he would be constantly pushing himself and almost feel like when you're listening to him or watching him play, it's like, is he gonna complete this phrase? Oh man, and he keeps completing the phrases and you keep going, wow, what's happening? It's like a freight train running. So this would be a kind of smear lick that I'm talking about. So it's a very classic lick. Probably the most traditional minor pentatonic lick there is, but again, instead of picking out each note, he is smearing his pick across the strings. So it's kind of like a sweep picking rake type thing that's happening here. So that would be it clean. And again, we're not trying to necessarily copy Jimmy, so how I might interpret this technique and apply it to my own playing is to actually clean it up a little bit. So instead of something like where it's kind of messy a little bit, I would do something like this. So it's really taking that attitude and then infusing your own attitude along with it. So I'm still taking that smear technique, just applying a little bit of my own style. That's what these types of habits videos are all about. Seeing what about the habit you like and translating it to your own guitar playing. And another habit of Page's was that he would really know how to emphasize certain notes in a phrase. Really, his phrasing was what made him such a great guitar player. You could say that about a lot of guitar players, of course, but the way he would punctuate certain riffs and licks would be just so obviously Jimmy Page. So whatever you're playing, ending with that kind of swagger, that Page swagger, he would tend to blend tonalities, which kind of brings me along to the next habit of his, which was combining the major and minor pentatonic scale. And sticking to this key of A, if you wanted to learn your major pentatonic shape, you're probably used to playing this A minor shape. Well, if you wanted to play the A major pentatonic, starting from that same note, it would look like this. So what a lot of people tend to do is just learn their root position, minor pentatonic, and be like, all right, I'm gonna move down 3 frets, which is fine, but I think it's easier to blend the major and minor pentatonic when you actually know both positions and really all 5 positions across the neck. But particularly if you're just getting started with learning this scale, I would actually encourage you to learn it in this position. So again. And this is what gives you access to that. So when you're blending these two things together, you can hear just how pagey that sounds. So with those habits that we've gone over so far, between the smearing and the overall disregard for keeping everything perfectly tidy, and combining a couple different tonalities that are certainly very useful among many other contexts in guitar playing, we come to some of the finer intricacies of Page's playing, which was that Jimmy Page groove. Take a song like this, for example. So with that groove, Jimmy Page was an amazing, amazing rhythm guitar player. That's kind of a habitual thing I found across all these habits videos, is just the attention to detail when it comes to rhythm guitar playing. Of course, when we think of guitar legends, we think soaring guitar solos and things like that, but if you are not a good rhythm guitar player, chances are you're not a guitar legend. Always remember, the Page groove is always in the pocket. And the thing about Jimmy Page was he was actually a little bit in front of the beat, and this was kind of purposeful and accentuated his kind of eccentric guitar playing. So it was a really unique blend with Led Zeppelin, where Page was a tiny bit in front of the beat. Bonham was always, of course, really laid back, a little bit behind the beat, and John Paul Jones right down the middle, of course. So that made the rhythm section that much more potent when it came to grooves like that one I just played, and like many others. I could go on for days playing Jimmy Page riffs, but I'm going to stop myself right there, show you a couple more little tricks in case you want to put them in your trick bag of guitar awesomeness. He would bend some stuff behind the nut, and particularly you can remember this in like the Heartbreaker solo where it's like... So basically all I'm doing there is just doing some pull-offs, 4-2 open on that G string, and actually bending the G string as the pull-off happens. So it's something like that. So again, not necessarily copying Page, but if you wanted to take that technique and apply it to something that you might want to play, I would first take that open string concept. So that's one way that I would apply that habit, not even using that trill or that nut bend at all, but actually starting with the open string concept. And then if I did want to add that trill in, so it's basically like, okay, I'm Jimmy Page, I have a Les Paul, I don't have a whammy bar, what am I going to do about that? I'll just be an awesome innovator. So obviously I'm not doing it as well as Mr. Page would, but again, this is about taking the habits, understanding where they come from, why they're happening, what they're doing to your guitar, and then applying them to your own guitar playing. So I hope this was a fun, helpful lesson for you if you've been chasing some of that Jimmy Page goodness. I know I have, and I will continue to do so. I actually have a video on my channel that dives deep into Jimmy Page's actual guitar tone as well, if you'd like to check that out. I was using some amp emulators from the Universal Audio suite of amp emulators such as the Marshall Plexi, which Jimmy Page liked to use a lot live. So check that out if you're interested here on my channel. And until next time, keep shredding.